My name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast. Shorts. There's no co-host on Shorts. These are 2 to 4 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for at least 2 to 4 minutes is better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Give me 3 stacks of high society. From the game of poker, leaders learn that what matters less than the risk they're taking to play the poker game in the first place is the poker table at which they've decided to sit down. Many leaders don't realize, or aren't curious enough to find out, the rules of the poker games they've decided to play. The poker game of adulthood, parenting, building a business, going to a school, leading other people, etc., before they put their chips down and just commence to betting. Leaders oftentimes make the faulty assumption that if they just work a little harder at a losing table, eventually they'll somehow pull out a win. Instead of picking up what chips they have, closing the game out, moving on to another table where the odds are stacked a little more in their favor. There is a non-obvious illustration of this sort of behavioral process from the world of independent comic books. The independent creator and Canadian provocateur, from before being a provocateur was cool, outre, and very, very social media driven, is a guy you've never heard of named Dave Sim. Born in Hamilton, Ontario, and still living there in a corner of a house that time, and that most postmodern film-driven comic book fans have forgotten, Sim was the creator and writer of a character designed initially to be a parody of Conan the Barbarian that gradually, over a 25-year period, became something far, far more interesting. Cerebus the Aardvark was the fullest representation of an independent comic book in comic book history, fully owned by the creator, no Marvel meddling or DC fangirl crushing or television and movie producers sniffing around here. And his book represented an attempt by an artist to tell a story about a character that actually reflected the creator's life, opinions, and ideas. All in black and white, all around 32 pages of book, and all for the low, low price, at least at first, of $2.95 American. And all at a time when the Marvel Comics era was about to wrap up in fire and variant covers due to rapacious gluttony and greed, and the DC Comics era was about to immolate itself between the horns of diamond distribution and the rise of the ubiquitous internet. Sim's most famous collection, or phone book, of stories featured the unintentional gambles and misadventures of the aardvark, Cerebus, as he wound his way through the wilds of becoming prime minister in the city-state of East, in one of the greatest political send-ups of our post-Cold War fractured political era, the appropriately named High Society. Much like the Eagles intoned in Hotel California, Cerebus begins his poker journey through the wilds of modern politics by checking into the Regency Hotel, a place driven by classicism, naked ambition, and greed, and subsequently he falls into the machinations of a Groucho Marx lookalike named Lord Julius. Yes, you heard that correctly. Along the way, Cerebus vainly attempts to get out of the hotel, away from Lord Julius, and as far away from the appropriate people of high society as he can get. But while he can check out anytime he likes, he can never truly leave. The 512-page graphic novel ends as you would suspect, not with Cerebus being revealed as a barely literate barbarian, barely able to hold it together, but instead Cerebus is revealed as a competent, yet deplorable in decorum, leader in a world full of incompetence, malcontents, manipulators, and passive nincompoops that have lost the narrative of why they're even involved in politics and political machinations in the first place. And then somehow, after all of that, Cerberus ascends to become the Pope. Talk about moving on to a different poker table. Now, Sim the man and creator could write cleanly and introspectively about successfully manipulating the world of high politics, but in the low-resolution, low-politics world of the comic book industry, Sim rose to great heights and fell to ignoble lows in the 1990s. Once lauded by the Comics Journal and other trade publications, Sim became persona non grata, which continues to this day, because of accusations of misogyny, daring to distribute his own comic books directly to consumers, and for daring to buck the Marvel-DC axis by standing up vociferously for creators' rights. It turns out the cancel culture didn't just start yesterday on Twitter. Leaders can be outrageous rebels, placid conformists, or independent loners, and there are pluses and minuses to each choice, each position. Leaders can gamble everything they have on one idea, one approach, one goal, one vision, or one product. Leaders can decide they don't like the atmosphere at the poker table they have decided to sit down at and move on to another poker table, perhaps with better cards. But fundamentally, just as Cerberus the character and Sim the man demonstrated both in real life and in beautiful black and white, detailed inked interiors by Gerhard, they have to decide intentionally what game they are willing to play. As a woman named Marla once trenchantly observed about political games in the wastes of Baltimore, quote, "The game is rigged. You cannot lose if you do not play," unquote. Yes, sure. But you won't have a chance, even a slim one, to win either. Particularly with the limited stack of high society you're already on loan from the house. Leaders, choose your games and your poker tables wisely. And that's it for me.
Follow us on all the places that you follow us. Please subscribe to Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast. Please tell your friends. Please like and share. Please also check out the HSCT website for all products and solutions. Please check out the Leading Keys website for products and solutions, our remote training services, our books, our trainings that will help you become a better leader. And watch this space for more information about our upcoming book, 12 Rules for Leaders, a foundational guide to intentional leadership, coming in April 2022. Please also go to HassanSorrells.com for more blogs and more posts about how you can be a better leader, and check out all of our YouTube channels online. Thanks, and have a great rest of your leadership day. Out.